Hey, what's up? It's Baz the Magician, and welcome to part 4 of why people can't understand why they have a problem learning to count cards from watching videos, going on forums, reading books, things like that. Please be aware this is the 4th and final part, which I'll be going over the problem with the count itself and the numbers you arrive at. After this 4th and final part, I will actually be putting out a video going over everything I've explained that people are having a problem with and actually putting it into terms you can understand and be able to follow along, because I actually do understand how this works. I'm just using this series of videos to answer questions on why people are getting confused with it. And once I put that video out, it'll make perfect sense on everything I've said, and you will see the way I explain it is nowhere near what these people are doing. So that being said, let me get right into this video. Okay, so starting with the aces, I'm going to put them off to the side because there's literally no defining property to those whatsoever. So I just want to point out that the problem with this final aspect I'll be going over is not just the count, it's the number the count has you arrive at. So no matter how many cards you assign a -1 to, a 0 to, or a +1, you wind up in the same problem. And I will be using +2 in this example just to make things easier to follow. If I put you in a room with 1,000 items, let's say there's books, plates, microwave ovens, washing machines, whatever, and I tell you that this room has books in it, and all of the red books are -1, all of the blue books are +1, and all the green books are 0. And then I plop you into this room with 1,000 items, and then you're in there. You have a system that tells you how to get +1 and minus and 0, and then I tell you to hand me 2 of those items. You run into a serious problem because the system I explained to you on how to count the books has no relation, or I have not correlated any relation to what the actual 2 items I'm telling you to get are. So my point on the comparison with this is having a system that gets you a +2 and then telling you what to do with the 2 the system arrives at is a problem because I haven't identified what the 2 itself is. So when you hear a count of the count is +2, first of all, nothing's been counted. It's just arbitrary numbers from a system being piled together. The number 2 in this case must be defined, meaning it literally has to have a label, because 2 is made up of 2 increments of 1. And if I say 1 + 1 is 2, we can agree to that. But if I say here is a system for getting a +1, and then you have a 2 out of that, that still doesn't define what the 2 itself is. These cards are just used to get the system of a plus. But to say the count is +2 when I haven't counted anything or explain to you once you get a number what that number is or represents or what it is, or how to use it, you're not going to be able to use it. So again, if I let's say I'll assign washing machines. If I tell you to get me 2 washing machines, you know what the number 2 represents because I told you. But if you're in a room with 1,000 items and I say, hey, hand me those 2, and I don't identify the 2 as the washing machine, it's not going to help you because you won't have any clue to what's going on. Now, bringing that into the game here, I'll use washing machines. Let's say this came up. Now, since the 2 wasn't identified, I'm putting an identifier to it, as in 2 washing machines. So if he says the count is +2 but hasn't told you what the 2 is, I'm going to represent that in this. So, okay, so the count's +2. Great, I have +2 washing machines, which means I have 2. The washing machines have no correlation to anything in the deck. So when somebody says use that 2 to determine how many probable of higher low cards left in the deck, you can't do it because washing machines have nothing to do with the deck itself. I literally have to have washing machines in the deck in order for you to do it. But you're not dealing washing machines, you're dealing cards. So this is one of the reasons why I specify, not only do you have to have an identifying number if you use a system to get a number, you not only have to have something to identify that number, but the number that you're identifying has to correlate with what you're talking about, which this system does not do. The system, again, only teaches you what to use to get a plus or minus number. But once you get that plus or minus number, the system you used is now obsolete. You're stuck with a number that you can't do anything with, but yet you have people telling you you use it to make a determination, which is not possible. This is why this is confusing to people and why it's important to not only have a defining property to it, but also how that defining property correlates to something in the deck. People somehow think they've explained this, and they haven't. I'll be going over in part 5 for that when I do this. So I just wanted to get out why the count is a problem, and hopefully you guys can follow why that's a problem. So please stay tuned for part 5, which will explain everything, and that's it. Sebastian Magician signing out.